Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free. If the game is rigged, change the game.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Game changer, game changer, game changer, game changer. The Game Changer Radio Network.
Recruiting all of our insiders towards Jimmy Church.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
All right, and a good Monday to you. How you doing? It's Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. Today's Monday, March 30th. 89 days into the new year, 276 days left. We are live from the City of Angels Studios right here, Burbank, California. COA Vapor, makers of the Fade to Black e-juice. Fader Loops. Oh yeah, Saturday morning cereal. Just go to the COA banner right there, www.jimmychurchradio.com. You can use the promo code Jimmy for the Fader Not Special. Let's do this, man. For KJCR and the Game Changer Network, I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. Welcome. This is Fade to Black. Big proud salute to the men and women in uniform all around the world, fighting the good fight for us. For without them, there is no me, there is no you, there is no us, and you could not hear me right now. You need to think about that for a second. Somebody literally sent me an email the other day and said, dude, the North Korean crack isn't funny. Why? I'm like, dude, you need to take a trip. Let's get this show cracking. I am ready. Big night tonight. Big night. Let's get a few things out of the way. Faders.org. We had family business this weekend. We missed Fader Cinema. Did everybody have a good time? Yeah, we had some family stuff. Got it out of the way. It's all good. If you want to become a Fader Not, just go to www.faders.org. Get the message that you need a code. Come back, follow us on Twitter. That's what you do, @JChurchRadio. Follow us on Twitter. And then you yell and scream, I want to be a Fader Not. Hey, over here, look at me. That's what you do. One of our producers here will find you. They will see you. You'll get vetted. Oh, yeah, background checks. But then you get your Fader badge. Everybody see K28's, I think that's his creation. Everybody see that on Twitter today? His union cards for Fader Nots. Those are pretty cool, actually. I almost approve, Kay. I really do. I think those are actually pretty dang cool. I'd like to know where you... What is it? Is it like an NSA card and you just changed it? Is that what you did? Or is it some kind of official thing? Or did you do it all yourself? Tweet that. I'd like to know. Follow us on Twitter @JChurchRadio. The sandbox is #F2B. That's the sandbox. Come and hang out. He's made, K28 has made Fader cards. Fader Not ID cards for everybody. They're all getting passed around. Oh, Allison hasn't seen it, Kay. So repost the cards. That's how quick Twitter runs, everybody. If you're new to the show tonight, let me explain. It's okay. We grow so much every single day. It's okay. We have somebody new every day. Let me explain something here. This is a long-form conversation show. This isn't some thing that you've heard, whatever podcast. No, this is a live radio show. This is live. It's 3 hours long. Okay? We have the best, the brightest, the coolest guest in the world every single night on this show. And you learn something every single night on this show. You're just hanging out with me and whoever my guest is, and we rap. And it's cool, and it's fun, and it's interactive. Okay, so we've got Twitter, we've got Spreaker, we've got the KGRA chat room. Everybody is in real time dealing with the show. Also shooting me emails, which you can do right now, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Okay? Anything that you want. If you have questions for the guest, we have that going on in TweetDeck. Hashtag F2BQ. There's a questions column. There's a question right here from K28, actually, just popped up. Ask Giorgio if he knows anything about blah, 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 blah. I'll read that question live during the show. That's what this show's about. It's fun. It's cool. So just come hang out. That's it. That's all you got to do. You don't have to be scared. Nobody bites over here. Well, maybe Tammy. Tammy bites a little bit sometimes. But that's what you want to do. You want to hang out. Okay? And it's simple. Hashtag F2B at JChurchRadio. All right. Studio Dome SD1. Katya sent me a picture today. I think it was today. Maybe it was yesterday. I saw it today, I think. Maybe it was yesterday. Of her new Studio Dome SD1 speaker. Yep, sitting right there in the carry bag. And so get yours. Studio Dome SD1. It is a Bluetooth voice-activated speaker. Tiny little cruiser guy. And it's loud. It's really cool. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com. Studio Dome, the banner's right there. Enter the promo code Jimmy. It's $99.99. You get it for $59.99 and free shipping. It's $40 off. Just use the promo code Jimmy. They will hook you up. As soon as they find out you're a fade or not, you guys are on the, you guys get the limo treatment. All right? Contact in the desert. 20 people have won. 20 people. If you can't, I'm going to go through the names here in just a second. If you can't make it to Contact in the Desert, we understand. Thank you for entering the contest. If you can't make it, shoot me an email. Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Contact Wowo. Rita@jimmychurchradio.com. Let us know that you can't make it, and we will make sure that your ticket is donated in your name, and we'll give it to somebody that can go. Okay, maybe your boss won't let you off work. Maybe it's something else. Kids, we get that. We understand that. But at least you entered the contest and you won. Okay, so if you can't make it, please let us know. We've had 2 people contact us out of the 20 that can't make it. Jimmy, please donate the ticket and give it to somebody, one of the Fadernauts. And, and that's the way it should be. So if you can't make it. So if the other 18 are making it, that's even more amazing. All right? Okay. All right. 3 weeks ago, KGRA and Fade to Black started our quest to take over the world. This week it continues. One day at a time, one guest at a time, one fan at a time. Okay? But today, I'd like to say happy birthday to KGRA and everyone over at the planet. 3 years ago today, KGRA went live. 3 years young and many, many more to follow. Think about what has happened to the world, what KGRA and the difference that they have made and the growth, the hugeness of KGRA, that family over there that we are a part of now. We are very proud. Happy birthday, Race Hobbs, Chase, Micah, Mac, Lee, everybody. Who did I just? Richard, all of you. The Nick. I'm just drawing blanks right now because I'm giddy. Happy birthday! I wish I had a cake here. I'd light that sucker up right now. All right, happy birthday, KGRA. And with that, let's get this show cracking. Tonight, Giorgio Tsoukalos from Ancient Aliens will be with us. Giorgio's hanging out in the sandbox. And I talked to Giorgio right before the show. He's like, dude, man, Twitter, man, what's going on? I said, so he's got all the instructions. He's already popped in. He's watching Twitter right now. If you have any questions, hashtag F2BQ. Get the questions going over there. That is a private column that we use just for questions during the show. Giorgio is hanging out in Twitter tonight in the sandbox. So there you go. Okay. And also, Mr. Tsoukalos said, I want to take calls. I said, let's do this. So we're going to take calls tonight. 323-825-5045. We're going to have Giorgio on in about 20 minutes. And, we'll do our normal thing. Then we'll take calls all night. Tomorrow night, Joel Garbin will be with us. Free energy. Smart guy. It's going to be one of those learning shows. Pencil and paper needed. Wednesday night, Spencer Cross will be with us. Monoatomic Gold and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Great week we have lined up here at Fade to Black. I love Mondays. Always remember, you can email throughout the show, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can also go to the website. Yes, go to the contact page where we use non-NSA specially encrypted servers just for you. Contact in the Desert winners are Simone Mendez, Daniel Zukowski of Boulder, Colorado, Melanie Johnson of Weaverville, North Carolina, Jose Torres of Auburn, Washington, Donna Jodoin of Littleton, Colorado, Daryl Farley of Cherry Valley, California, David Cruz from somewhere in the interland. That's really funny, David. I talked to David. Congratulations, David. Star Shaft, Greg Mellinson, David M. Lowe, San Rafael, Tammy Norton, Wendy Gridley, Michael Schmagitz, Phoenix, Arizona, Shelley Fuller, Eric James of Yakima, Washington, Beth DeLapp, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Status Unknown, Chuck Rao, and Scott Hunt. You are all winners for Contact in the Desert. I cannot wait. Now, a couple of breaking news. Oh, man, do we have time? Let me look at the studio clock. Okay, got a couple minutes here before we break. A couple of things. On a Contact in the Desert, I'll be hosting a panel with Richard Dolan and Mike Barra, Nick Redfern, Steve Murillo, Joel Garbin, who will be on with us tomorrow night, William Brown, and I'm leaving somebody off. I think Stanton Friedman. I think that's the other panelist. And we're going to be doing UFO technology and propulsion systems and physics. And that was going to be at 8:30 in the morning on Saturday at the amphitheater. We got lucky. It got moved to 5 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, which means, that's right, we're broadcasting Friday night from 7 to 10 in the Nexus room, and then we're going out that night. And now the thought of getting up at 6:30 in the morning after doing what we do on a Friday night after a show, quite frankly, scared the crap out of me. But I had to do it. I have to do what I have to do. It's not that big of a deal. You got to do it. You got to nut it up. But it got moved to 5 o'clock, which means if you are going to Contact in the Desert, you know where to hang out that Friday night. That's right. It's going to be great. We're going to broadcast live. And the other thing that we announced last week was that Hangar 1 is premiering, yes, Friday night, April 10th. I know that you saw the promotions that they were doing this weekend over at History Channel. We got bumped. We got upgraded from business class to first class. And that is Friday night, April 10th at 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. Hangar 1. So excited about that. And it is such a big deal to go from H2 to History Channel. I can't say it enough that history recognizes that they need to get the message out. Totally honored, totally cool, totally awesome. With that, let's take our first break. Giorgio Tsoukalos will be joining us as soon as I get back after the break. All the news that you know nothing about. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network, KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Giorgio Tsoukalos. Tomorrow night, Joel Garbin. Wednesday night is Spencer Cross, Monoatomic Gold. We'll be taking your calls later on tonight, too. 323-825-5045. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Do not touch that mouse. I'll be back right after this short break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Tonight, very special guest, Giorgio Tsoukalos, Ancient Aliens. Call-in numbers 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. Tomorrow night, Joel Garvin, Free Energy. Wednesday night, Spencer Cross, Monoatomic Gold and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Great week we've got lined up tonight. All right, let's get to the news that you know nothing about. One person is dead, 2 more hospitalized after an unauthorized vehicle tried to gain access to the NSA campus at Fort Meade, Maryland. That's right. Shortly before 9 a.m. today, a vehicle containing 2 individuals attempted an unauthorized entry at the National Security Agency gate. Jonathan Freed, NSA Director of Strategic Communications, said in a statement, the driver failed to obey the NSA police officer's routine instructions for safety exiting the secure campus. The vehicle failed to stop and barriers were deployed. I'm assuming, those things from the ground. Ka-chunk. NSA police on the scene fired on the vehicle when it accelerated toward a police car blocking its way. One of the unauthorized vehicle's 2 occupants died on the scene. The other was hospitalized, as was an NSA police officer. The 2 men, who officials say tried to ram the main gate at the NSA headquarters, were dressed as women. Investigators are looking into whether the men were under the influence of drugs following a night of partying. A man reported his car stolen from a hotel not far away from the NSA headquarters and said he had been with 2 men who had taken his car. Cocaine was found in the vehicle. The Howard County Police Department confirms that the Ford Escape reported stolen in Howard County, Maryland, is the vehicle involved in the incident. And I just got to say, I guess you need to really look at who you're picking up at the bar. At least grab the hair once. Make sure it's not a wig. You think it's something crazy, terrorist activity, something nuts, ISIS, whatever. And it turns out to be that. Little embarrassing. While conducting recent excavations from the construction of a new office building on Hamzger Street in downtown Tel Aviv, archaeologists discovered 17 ancient pits used to store agricultural product during the early Bronze Age, between 3,500 and 3,000 BC. When they looked inside the pits, what they found were pottery typical of the local tradition at the time, but also uncovered something quite different. Fragments of the kind of large ceramic basins traditionally used by ancient Egyptians to brew beer. Previous excavations in the Delta region of Egypt have shown that ancient Egyptians were producing beer as early as the mid-4th century BC. Archaeologists think the entire population, regardless of class, gender, and age, consumed beer, which has been referred to as ancient Egypt's national drink. Ancient Egyptians brewed beer by mixing barley and water, partially baking it in the thick mixture and fermenting it in the sun. Then they added various fruit concentrates for flavor and aroma. Though evidence of ancient Egyptian communities has been discovered further south in Israel, in the Negev region, and along its Mediterranean coast, the excavation of the brewery equipment in Tel Aviv is the first evidence of Egyptian settlements so far north. Man, learn how to make beer. That's nuts. 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago? Nuts. Recently, Miami-Dade Animal Services will become the first shelter in Florida to have its dogs integrated in the free Finding Rover app. The developer who came up with the idea when he saw a missing dog poster triggering horrible memories of his own lost dog. Here's how it works. A person downloads the app through their smartphone and registers their dog by snapping a picture. The app loads it into a database. If their dog goes missing, the dog owner clicks a button to report it. The software then searches the database for a match. If the match comes up, the owner is notified. If someone finds the dog, he or she can take a picture of it and upload the photo to the site. If the dog has been reported missing and it's registered, the app will notify the person who found the dog. John Polomeno, the man behind the app, he demonstrated how this works. And when you point, you can't take pictures of your dog. When you point your camera, your cell phone at your dog, the dog looks away. He knows you're trying to take a picture. But what this app does is it barks. It barks, causing the dog to look at the phone, and you snap a picture. It's really cool. The barking button on the app will instantly get your dog's attention. Palomeno said that there are about 100,000 users in the United States and Australia, but the goal is 100 million for around the world. Great app, really cool. Find Rover app. Check it out. I got this. I'll tell you more about it later, but I wanted to read it in its entirety. On June 20th, 2008, this was posted on the web. Clark C. McClellan, former SCO Space Shuttle Fleet, personally observed an 8 to 9 foot tall ET on my 27-inch video monitors while on duty at the Kennedy Space Center, Lost Control Center, LLC. The ET was standing upright in the Space Shuttle payload bay having a discussion with 2 tethered U.S. NASA astronauts. I also observed on my monitors the spacecraft of the ET as it was stabilized. Safe orbit to the rear of the space shuttle's main engine pods. I observed this incident for more than 1 minute and 7 seconds. Plenty of time to memorize all that I was observing. It was an ET and an alien starship. To all that have faith in me, I present you with the artist's concept. I actually have it, we'll get it posted here, of what I saw many years ago at the Kennedy Flight Control Center. It was a tall creature, about 8 to 9 feet tall. It had a humanoid body shape with 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 feet, a slim torso, and a normal-size head for its size. The color of its skin I could not determine. It appeared to have what appeared to be eyes, but it was also not detailed enough for any of the comments. How did it communicate? I have no idea. It did move its arms a lot, almost like giving instructions. I heard no voice communications, and the helmet was not as large as our NASA astronauts, and it had a viewport to look forward. It had a small, perhaps a communication device attached only to the right side of the helmet. I saw no oxygen tanks. It had a wide belt like wrapping around it. It did not appear to be tethered as the two astronauts were to the sides of the shuttle structure. I observed nothing that appeared to be a weapon. The time of this amazing scene was 1 minute and 7 seconds. I timed it on my chronograph watch. A friend of mine later contacted me and said that this person had also observed the 8 to 9 foot tall ET inside the space shuttle crew compartment. Yes, our shuttle. Both missions were DoD Pentagon top secret TS encounters. With my verifiable background, there was no federal government agency that can say that I am crazy. Signed, Clark. We're going to get Clark on the show. I'm just saying. It's a heck of a statement. Since ancient times, the vast Lake Baikal has been known as deeply mysterious. But in the closing years of the Soviet era, and since, it has been the location of a number of alleged sightings of aliens and UFOs. Initially, these were covered up by authorities of the USSR, but later they were revealed by the Russian media. In recent days, there have been unconfirmed reports in Russia that American director Steven Spielberg is planning a documentary based on the weird and unexplained accounts. At the time of this writing, this appears to be happening, though it is unclear who planted the stories in the Russian media. True or not about Spielberg's interest, the lake is perhaps the biggest focus of UFOs in Russia. The versions of extraterrestrial activity in Baikal, edged by mountains and containing 1/5 of the world's unfrozen freshwater, relate to supposed aliens seen by military divers in its depth and large spaceships hovering over its gray, moody expanses. Reports surfaced several days ago in the Russian media that Spielberg was expected at Baikal in May and that he intends to make a documentary entitled Depth 2011, citing the press service of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, news source infobaikal.ru, and others have reported this trip. Yet, there was no confirmation from the Hollywood director who has made such films as, we all know, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., the Extraterrestrial. Nobody knows when he will be arriving. No any other further details are reported on his project. Interesting. Next week, we're going to have Jan Harzan on the show. We'll have to ask him about that. The Daily Show is getting a new host, as we know. Today, the show announced that comedian Trevor Noah will take over for Jon Stewart, who announced in February that he was leaving after 16 years. Stewart himself succeeded Craig Kilborn and saw the news program popularity just blow up. But I just have to say, who is Trevor Noah? It's going to be interesting. I'm sure he's good. I just don't know who that guy is. I don't. All right, let's get these pictures posted, Rita. Really quick, the latest UFO find on the Red Planet was reported on March 27th by 2 YouTube anomaly hunters, Mars Moon Space Photo Zoom Club, and the Paranormal Crucible. According to the MMSPZC, the UFO flying saucer was discovered in images of the Martian region of Aram Chaos, 2.6 north to 21.5 degrees west, near the Canyon Valle Marineris and Ares Vallis. The images were captured by NASA's Mars Orbiter camera, the MOC. These are going to get posted here in a second in Twitter. Go over to Twitter at JChurchRadio. Look at these pictures. We have one that is the unedited. Here they are. They just popped up. I'm going to retweet these now. And you have the one basic, and then one close-up, and then one colorized. I got to say, this is interesting. Very, very interesting. I've got to get out of here because I've got to get Tsoukalos. I got to look at these again. When you look at the main picture, look right in the center on the ridge, you can see the alleged craft right in the middle. It doesn't fit this around. It's pretty interesting looking. Then go and look at the other two pictures. Look at the close-up, and then look at the colorized version of it. That's kind of freaky deaky right there. I'm not too sure what I am looking at. And that is all the news that you know nothing about. Let's get out of here. I'm excited. When I come back after the break, Giorgio Tsoukalos will be with us. Tomorrow night, Joe Garbin. Wednesday night, Spencer Cross, Mono Atomic Gold. Great Pyramid of Giza. Tonight, Giorgio Tsoukalos, Ancient Aliens, all the good stuff when we come back. Man, we got to talk some Puma Punku and some Gobekli Tepe as well. Giorgio Tsoukalos with us when I come back right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fadernauts and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of Fruity Loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fader Not special. That's www.coavapor.com. Gobekli Tepe.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Attention, all Fader Knots. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy, Gobekli Tepe. Welcome back, everybody. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Game Changer Network, KGRA The Planet. Shoot me an email right now, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Any questions for myself or Mr. Tsoukalos? Hashtag F2BQ in Twitter. You can also do it via email and text and do whatever you got to do. But I am ready, very excited. Giorgio Tsoukalos is the star and consulting producer of Ancient Aliens, the series, 2010 to right now, and the publisher of Legendary Times magazine, the only ancient astronaut publication in the world. For over 16 years, Giorgio has been the director of Eric von Daniken's Center for Ancient Astronaut Research, RA Archaeology, Astronautics, and SETI Research Association. As the world's leading ancient astronaut expert, Giorgio has starred in and appeared in the History Channel, Travel Channel, National Geographic Channel, Sci-Fi Channel, Coast to Coast AM, and now as of tonight, Fade to Black, all of the international television and radio programs, and he will be speaking at Contact in the Desert this May 29th through the 31st, coming up on us quick, right here in Southern California, Joshua Tree, California. We'd like to welcome to the program our good friend, Giorgio Tsoukalos. Giorgio, how are you tonight?
Very well. How about you, Jimmy?
It's all good, man. It's all good. Giorgio, very excited. And let me just do what I do with every guest on the show, especially for the new listeners. This is just you and I sitting in my living room, sitting on the couch, having a conversation, no agenda. We start where we start, we end where we end, and hopefully we're still friends. And I'm ready to go. How you doing?
Well, very well. I'm looking forward to it. This is my first-time experience, so let's rock and roll.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, now, a couple of things that I've never had a chance to ask you before, but before we get into the meat of everything, you just you were out of the country. Were you researching? You just made it back? Where were you?
I always research. It doesn't matter if I go down the street or if I go overseas, because you never know where you go. There might be an old painting or something that might lead into a new direction or something like that. But I was overseas in Switzerland and Austria for my birthday. So I met some friends there, and we went to see some sunshine and some snow, and we're back.
I want to go to Switzerland so bad, and that's a whole nother conversation between you and I. Were you still able to ski? There's snow there like year-round, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a glacier, for example, that you can go and visit. It's inside the Zillertal, which is in the Tyrol, and it's a year-round attraction where in 2007, this explorer, he, by complete accident, discovered the entrance to a glacier, and now you can actually take tours in there, and they have it really nicely lit with different colored lights and stuff, and it's really enchanting. And so I would recommend anyone, if you have time, and if you're in the Tyrol, to go to the Zillertal, to the Hintertuxer Gletscher, to the glacier there, and check out that glacier world. It's truly a special place.
Did you see last week, I hope you caught this, and if you haven't, just a quick Google search, or I can send you the link. Did you see the high-definition drone footage around Everest that was posted last week?
I did not, but I heard something like that. But that's pretty cool. Did it look interesting?
Oh man, we've all seen it, right? We've all grown up looking at pictures, but when you see a high-def drone, you feel like you're like a bird, like an eagle, with those eyes, and you're just looking around, and it totally will hit you differently than any other way you've seen it. Probably even if you've climbed it yourself. I think the effect is just absolutely extraordinary.
Sure. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
About the same thing happened a couple of years ago. We used to have posted up on our website. We should do it again. We had 3D. It's hard to explain, but 3D shots of Giza in real time. So you could shoot.
Okay.
You could take your view, of which there were like 6. So you could choose your view, and then with your mouse cruise anywhere in Giza. Anywhere. You could go in and out of the Sphinx, up and down. You could zoom up, fly right up to, like, you could reach out and touch the granite blocks and the blocks of the Great Pyramid, and then fly out and do it at your own leisure, as opposed to somebody else's camera. No, you have full control.
How awesome is that? I mean, that we have the pleasure and the opportunity to be able to do these things. I mean, it's like Star Trek. It really is. It's truly amazing.
I'm telling you, I wasted a couple of days just and taking every camera view. And again, I'll send you the links to that. It's extraordinary, the amount of work that company
Sure, yeah,
has
I'm looking forward to checking that out. That's pretty amazing.
So let's back up a little bit for our listeners about you as a kid. Tell us about that first. What was it like growing up? And was your family, did you guys discuss any of the theories and the stuff that you present now? Did that go on as a kid? Or if it didn't, what happened? Something happened, and you took a right-hand turn somewhere. What happened?
No, absolutely nothing happened, but you're right. There was definitely something that I grew up with, and that is, you know, my grandma, she was a devout Christian. She went to church every Sunday and went to service during the week as well. And I come from a very devout family, whether it's on the Greek side or on the Austrian side, regardless, are very devout Christians. But at the same time, they were always very open-minded, especially my grandma on the Austrian side. And so I remember as a kid that she would introduce me to books by Erich von Däniken, like Chariots of the Gods, or she would introduce me to, stories of, or the books of Edgar Cayce about Atlantis and those types of things. And so I was introduced to these type of topics at a very young age, and, just always taught to keep an open mind. And, and the older I got, the more I was sort of enamored or enthralled by the whole ancient astronaut theory as opposed to some of the other theories that are out there. And it spoke to me the most. And here we are.
Did you ever have any sightings or anything that you couldn't explain as a kid?
No, actually, nothing's ever really happened. I mean, there were maybe a couple of things that were when I was in high school that might have turned out to be a plane, if you think about it. However, only last year at Contact in the Desert, it was on the night of August 8th or August or on the 10th or the 11th, or on one of these evenings, there were these night vision goggles out in the middle or next to the field that Ed Grimsley provided, and there were about close to 28 people there, and it was close to midnight. And as we were about to pack up everything, or as everybody wanted to go home and sleep, one kid said, "Over there, what is that? What are these two stars? They were not there before." And everybody trained their night vision goggles and also their naked eyes towards those two stars. And sure enough, within about 2 minutes, those two stars started to move in unison, parallel from each other without deviation, and they just moved into the cosmos, so to speak, and they disappeared. And, that was uncanny that we all saw what we saw, 28 people. And since then, I have to say, yes, I saw a UFO.
Well,
that 28 other people saw it too.
That same night, we were we didn't go to the night vision thing. We went back to our little bungalow, right? And Jason had turned to me. You had just texted Jason. This is all going down in real time. And Jason goes, "You want to come with Giorgio and I, right?" I think that's what you're talking about. You guys went over and did that, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I turned to Jason. I said, "Look, I've got all the fader knots here. We're going to go somewhere else." So we went back to our bungalow, and Steve Murillo. Steve and Steve and I and Alex Mistretta, and I know you know Alex too as well, from MUFON. We're all out at our bungalow. There's about 10 of us, and it might have been the same. I'm not too sure, but this is what happened to us. We were out on the front patio, and somebody yells, "Look, what is that?" And as I turn, it was off to my right, and I don't know if it was west, east. I don't know the direction of our bungalow, but it was off to my right, and this thing just shot straight from the ground up into the atmosphere, and it took about 2 seconds, maybe. I don't know. It was a white ball. It didn't have a streak behind it or anything. It just disappeared. It went straight up, and it didn't turn. It didn't do anything, and went straight up into the stars. And I was dumbfounded. I mean, I just stood there and went, "Did that just happen at Contact in the Desert on a Saturday night?" It was weird. So
it was truly wild, and and obviously not obviously, but I wouldn't be as sure to talk about this stuff had it not been for the 28 other people.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Because had it just been you and me and maybe whatever. But, there's a varied group of people, many of which have absolutely no interest in corroborating the story at all.
Right. And it makes
and we all saw it, and a lot of people saw it with a naked eye. That's what was so interesting too.
You need to have that support. In other words, when you see stuff by yourself, which I have on occasion, and Rita and I have seen things together, but that's the stuff you keep to yourself. You need to know that you've had, like you just said, you had 28 other people around you to, not really vindicate, but to verify. And then you're clean,
or at least to verify that, whatever it was, we saw something, and that none of us were hallucinating, because you cannot, truly suppose that 28 people were hallucinating all at the same time. See, this is the stuff that I disagree with the skeptics and things like that, where, we're talking about mass hallucinations and things like this, and it's like, those are interesting propositions, but when you are in that situation, none of us, they weren't even, none of us were drunk or anything like that, so, this was a pretty sober group, and to suggest that we were all hallucinating all at the same time and seeing the same thing, that, to me, that proposition is ridiculous.
That's right. How do you explain the success of Ancient Aliens? When you look back and you think about it, how many programs in the history of television survive past a second season, no matter what it is, comedy, drama, murder mystery, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. But to go and see the success of Ancient Aliens, do you sit back and wonder how do you explain it? What is it? Because it's touching the very, emotional core of so many people that now you're going into your 8th season. That's incredible. How do you explain the success?
Yeah, this will be our 8th season that we're going in, and we'll reach 100 episodes this time around, and it's just going to be absolutely incredible. And first and foremost, I have to thank the fans. It's the fans who have made Ancient Aliens for what it is today, because the fans clearly show that they enjoy the questions that we ask, because many people suggest that we are too definitive in how we present stuff on Ancient Aliens, but the truth of the matter is we ask questions, and then there are some guys like me and Martel or Childress and Daniken and some of the experts that we can say, all right, so we see it this way. But by and large, the narration itself asks questions. And so I think that by doing so, we've struck a nerve by asking questions that people are curious about, and that maybe there are other answers to the answers that we have already received by the quote-unquote mainstream media. And mind you, this has nothing to do with being on a warpath with anyone. It's just trying to reevaluate questions or answers that we think we already know the answers to.
Do you think also when, all that scuttlebutt was going around before Ancient Aliens had aired, that ufology was dying down, the sensation of it is, the attendance is dwindling at different conventions around the world, and then all of a sudden Ancient Alien comes, and it's just like, boom. Was it? Well,
I also think that the great thing about Ancient Aliens, and let's talk about this as well, is that the people who are making Ancient Aliens, Prometheus Entertainment, and above all the executive producer there, Kevin Burns. No matter whether or not you agree with the content of the show itself is beautiful to watch. He always says it's a gorgeous show. And so I agree with that even if you don't happen to agree with some of the content, just watch it anyway, because number one, it's beautiful, and number two, you might learn a couple of things, because yes, we ask new questions and we provide answers that may not be as conventional as all the other stuff.
Well, who's the guy that narrates it?
That's my good friend Robert Clotworthy.
Yeah, Robert Clotworthy. Bob, tell me the truth, man. Does he talk like that in person?
Of course, we all do, don't we?
He does, doesn't he?
No, he's a wonderful guy, and I'm sure that many listeners also know him he also voices a whole bunch of video games as well. And so it's always great, to have him there, and he's a great fan of the show as well.
You go and IMDb him, and you see how many voiceover and stuff that he's done. He's like the busiest guy in Hollywood. He's no joke.
No, he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's no joke. The first time that I met you was, you probably don't even remember. Well, it doesn't matter. Back in maybe 2009, 2010, and you had spoke out here for MUFON in the Valley. And
okay.
Yeah, and you came in, and it was at the very beginning of Ancient Aliens. It was probably season 1. And I was excited. I was doing sports back then. I was a sportscaster. And so I show up, Murillo goes, Jimmy, Tsoukalos is going to be. I was like, okay, great. So I came in, and we shook hands briefly. And I sat in the back of the room and watched your presentation. It was excellent. It was a really, really. The presentation wasn't necessarily on Ancient Aliens. It was about civilizations out there and advance, and the way that you did it was really good. But then you got to Puma Punku, and Puma Punku, when that first hit in season 1, my head like blew up. It really, really, really freaked me out. And about I'm going to make this very brief. A couple of months later, after your presentation here in L.A., I get to hang out with Michio Kaku, okay? And Michio and I are together for most of the day. And for about 3 or 4 hours, we were alone. So I was able to talk to him. And I told him, I said, I got questions. He goes, Jimmy, let's go, let's do it. And I said, Puma Punku. And he goes, what? I said, Puma, and I go through the whole thing. It's possibly 10,000, maybe 15,000 years old. And he just went, stop right there. How old? And I said, well, they're saying, 10,000, maybe 12, maybe it could be as old as 50. No, stop. No. No. And he would have nothing to do with it. He just went straight there. Ice Age, 10,000 years, you can't age rock. Jimmy, no, stop. I don't want to hear about it. And it was amazing to me. I thought that it was my first taste of mainstream academia poo-pooing anything that goes out of bounds. And you've been fighting that for a long time. What do you do, like when you're dealing with something like Puma Punku, which I believe in wholeheartedly in my very soul, but I get fought from somebody that's smarter than me. So now I'm at a crossroads. I don't know what to do. How do you fight it?
Well, first of all, if anybody's smarter than you or not, I think that's a complete invalid argument. I mean, that's, whether or not, because you either see it like somebody, but I don't think it has anything to do with IQ. But at the same time, first of all, I have to say though, it's surprising that you've had this experience with Michio Kaku, because he's actually a great friend of ours. He has spoken at 2 Legendary Times conferences in Switzerland already over the past 15 years, and also he was in a Ancient Alien documentary just recently, in which he said that the idea whether or not we've been visited in the past by aliens is a valid one. It's a good question. So I don't know. It's maybe it all depends what day it is and how they woke up and things like that. But to be honest with you, I don't really care what anybody thinks, because if that then there's nothing you can do anyway. Because today with social media, the haters and the trolls, they're just waiting to just engage with you, and so it's like, just forget it. And so I don't even pay attention anymore.
Yeah, and it was, and what I meant to say was, when you're with somebody like Michio, who's intelligent, and you look up to him, and you also want to learn, right? That's what I'm getting at. Somebody that's smarter than me. I like to be a sponge, and I just wanted to engage in this conversation with him about, Puma Punku and what those rocks really meant, and the H blocks, and and the technology. And he just now I know he's open to. We've discussed it at length many times about.
Right.
Things coming here a long time ago and so forth, or possibly
well,
being.
Here's the thing, too, is that, especially in regards to Puma Punku, I mean, there's this quote that Neil Tyson just threw out there a few weeks ago where he said, just because we don't know in certain examples how ancient man did something doesn't mean that they received help from aliens. And, that sounds wonderfully from the surface, but, that's exactly what that means, because the question shouldn't be, well, why, but why not? Because every other, all pointers are pointing in the direction that at some point we've had help, because this entire human ingenuity argument that, we would have come up with it all on our own, that's all possible, and perhaps even today. But if we have to remind ourselves that a simple rule such as that, only two people at once can be inside a cockpit at all times, and never less, and now we find out that this rule was never even on the books, just in the United States, and worldwide it was, let's just not even think about it and not have it on the books. I mean, that is insane. So here we are priding ourselves in human ingenuity, when in fact, if we look at everything that's happened over the past week, we are all in very deep trouble.
Yes, we are. We are. And I don't have, when mainstream Orthodox archaeologists come back and they say, you're not giving, ancient man enough credit. No, it's not about that. I'm not trying to downplay our own, brains and smartness and evolution. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm saying some of this stuff happened out of nowhere a little bit too quickly, and a lot of it was forgotten about and then restarted. There's some issues there that we need to seriously look at.
And that's exactly right, and especially in regards to Puma Punku, nobody ever claimed that there is no sandstone at Puma Punku. Of course there is sandstone at Puma Punku. In fact, most of the sandstone at Puma Punku is red sandstone. You can see it how it sticks out in the mud. You can see it how it's in the walls and the different blocks made of red sandstone. But then there are also other blocks that are gray. And the gray blocks, I don't care what anybody says, those are of andesite. And andesite, that's igneous rock. It's a very, very hard rock. And the only way that you can cut that is with something that's either as hard or harder than the rock that you're cutting. So the idea that this andesite was cut with chicken bones or with copper tools, I mean, I almost would like to say it's laughable, because it really is, because nothing else is possible to suggest that this was cut with copper tools, because you can't. It's a physical impossibility.
Yeah.
So how is it?
Yeah, the last time I checked, chicken bones aren't as hard as andesite. I could be wrong here, Giorgio. Let's take a quick break. When I come back, Giorgio, I'm going to ask you about my favorite subject here on the show. Well, I've got a lot of them, but Göbekli Tepe. We'll be right back. This is Fade to Black, Game Changer Network, KGRA tonight. Giorgio Tsoukalos. We'll be back right after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Alternative Talk, KGRA.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference, being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Tonight we have very special guest Giorgio Tsoukalos. Call-in numbers 323-825-5045. Giorgio would like to take some calls, and we will open up the phone lines here in a little bit. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. Tomorrow night, Joel Garbin will be with us. He'll also be at Contact in the Desert. And on Wednesday night, Spencer Cross, Mono Atomic Gold, and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Let's get right back to Giorgio. Giorgio, I was talking about Göbekli Tepe right before the break, and I think Göbekli Tepe is one of the most important things that we have discovered, maybe ever. It could be the greatest discovery ever. But there's one thing that I find strange, and I wonder if you've made the same connection. The H blocks at Pumapunku, and on the belt of the tall pillar, one of the pillars in Göbekli Tepe, on the belt, there's H's that look very similar to Göbekli Tepe. Have you noticed that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I find it very interesting that it doesn't matter from what ancient structure or what ancient monument or what ancient carving we find in one area of the world, chances are that something identical exists on the other side of the world, which is really amazing. And as far as Göbekli Tepe is concerned, yeah, it's really an amazing discovery, and it's ongoing. They're discovering more and more things, and according to my good friend and colleague, Andrew Collins, there are other sites that have been discovered in the area that seem to be going date back as far, if not older, as Göbekli Tepe. So, you know, if you follow Andrew Collins' work and also Hugh Newman with Megalithomania,
yep,
they're doing amazing work on that front.
Plus, I don't think anybody says Göbekli Tepe is nice as Andrew Collins. his accent, the way he oh man, I love it when he's on the show. Let's. I'm being serious. I'm not being jest at all. I'm not trying to be funny. He is just so intelligent, and when he says "Göbekli Tepe," you snap to attention. That's what I'm saying. What intrigues you the most about Göbekli Tepe? What is it when you step up to it and you look? I mean, what's the first thing that hits you?
Well, I look at it always from an engineering perspective, and if you look at those all those different carvings that you see on the blocks, then those carvings, they're not indented, but they're actually raised, which means the rock around the indentation or around the raised relief had to have been removed. So that's quite a bigger undertaking than just carving some type of a normal type of a relief. So that shows even bigger intent than anything else. And so finding all these different motifs, very interesting because they can be found, like you said, different motifs can be found elsewhere as well.
Yeah, and if we're looking at something that is 12 to 14,000 years old, 10,000 BC, 11,000 BC, 12,000 BC. Minimum. Where did this intelligence come from? That is what all of us have to ask ourselves, including mainstream archaeologists that are out there. This is at some point you have to throw in the towel, don't you?
Well, here's the thing that the archaeologists, and they're doing amazing work. I mean, this is what's so amazing and what's so misleading, or what there seems to be this misunderstanding. That, I completely appreciate the work that archaeologists are doing because they themselves agree that many of these ancient buildings and monuments and objects were all built or created as for some type of worship of the gods or some type of a temple or something like this. So they agree that it was all done for the gods. And so what we do is, well, instead of just saying, all right, so it was built for the gods, now the mystery has been solved, we can all go home, we at least would like to find out, well, who were these gods? Because in archaeology right now, the gods were nothing else but a figment of our ancestors' imagination. And many debunkers and also the archaeologists themselves tell us that we have misunderstood, or we are misunderstanding religious symbolism, that we don't understand why religion exists. It's the other way around. What we are suggesting is that the reason why religion exists in its present form is because we were visited by flesh and blood, physical extraterrestrials whom our ancestors thought were divine beings, which they never were, and this is why we are in the mess that we're in today, and not the other way around. Religious symbolism never existed. It came about due to a completely misunderstood visit by technologically advanced ETs.
Yeah, when you look at, if you want archaeologists to for us to accept that, man was running around in animal skins and then somehow one day at 3500 BC decided they knew how to build the pyramids, and we swallow that. And the rest of the world, like I said, is foraging for seeds in the dirt, right, with clubs. And then now we're going to back up 7,000 years to Göbekli Tepe, and there's a belt buckle. A belt buckle. How do you explain that? We're talking 7,000 years or more older than the pyramids in Egypt, if that is indeed, I think they're much, tens of thousands of years older than that. That's my own opinion. But how do you then turn around and explain the intelligence of Göbekli Tepe? And that's the thing. Where did that intelligence come from? Where did it come from? Just explain that to me and we're cool. But they can't. Right. And the idea is, that at some point, all the ancient cultures, whether it was, it doesn't matter what continent. The idea has always been that our ancestors received help from extraterrestrials on all continents, not just,
on 2 continents, but on everywhere, in every remote corner of the world, whether not so remote or remote, we've at some point received help. We've received these cultural tools that we've then used in order to achieve what we have achieved to this day. I mean, we are a magnificent species, but the idea that everything came about through, human ingenuity, which so many people, would like it to be. Well, if human ingenuity truly would work, then next time somebody gives birth, just lock that baby upon birth into a room and make sure that baby is fed, make sure the baby has, is warm and has blankets and stuff so it's never cold. But no interaction with that baby or with that person until the age of 20. And then at age 20, the door opens again and you walk inside. Now, if human ingenuity were such an incredible thing, then you would be able to walk into that room and hold a conversation with that person. But anybody with their right mind knows that that doesn't work. Why? Because that person did not have one thing. What? Education. They were not taught how to speak. They were not taught how to reason. They were not taught how to, interact. And so the idea that everything is reliant on human ingenuity, it's a complete ghost. It does not exist. We are who we are today because somebody taught us something, our parents, our teachers, our whomever. And that is what happened also to our species a long time ago. Somebody helped. And they too, by the way, had help as well. So the idea that, So the aliens also had help from the aliens? Ha ha, snicker, snicker. The answer, of course, is yes, they too. Because you play that game backwards to the very beginning, and that's where you arrive at creation. That's where you arrive at God. So it all leads back to God anyway.
Okay, let's, before I ignore it, I'm about 100 questions behind in Twitter. So let me, I'm just going to pick some out random. Okay, here we go. Good. What happened to the Roswell Rock?
The Roswell Rock, as far as I know, is still with the owner, Robert Ridge. I hope he's doing well. And the powder or the drilling that we didn't yield enough powder to do a conclusive test. And as you were able to tell by the reaction that Robert Ridge had when we, cut into that rock, and when we drilled a little bit, that was too much for him at that point. So I think that one will have to wait for a while.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think also the crop circle tie-in was pretty amazing, especially when they were
very interesting.
Yeah, so many years apart. Do you know anything about the pyramids in Canada?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, that was a question they wanted. That was from John. He wanted to know your comments on the Canadian pyramids. We had we have a caller. Her name is Carol. She's up in Canada, and she saw what appeared to be pyramids out on the coast, and took some pictures. They're very interesting, and sent them to us. I will forward those to you, and
wow, okay.
and let you check those out. Let's see. Just going. What is the? Okay, I'm reading this in real time. Giorgio, give us a secret. What is the biggest secret you're going to reveal on the show tonight? That's from Walter.
The biggest secret tonight? Wow. I don't know myself. That's how secret it is.
Yeah, oh, man, we didn't discuss secrets, Walter, before the show. Yeah, let's see here. I'm just if you could solve any mystery still puzzling you, what would it be?
Wow. Well, I mean, I would liken that to the same question. If you had a time machine, what time period would you go to? I would go, or I would try to solve the puzzle of Pumapunku. How did it look like when all those blocks were conjoined, and what was it for, and how was it built? So, yeah, the mystery of Pumapunku.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that blows my mind about Pumapunku, and you've sort of addressed this, but let me ask you directly. They didn't have, answer these questions for me really quick so I can get to the real question. They didn't write, right? No writing.
Yes, I mean, according to the mainstream archaeologists, the Aymara Indians, the native population, did not have any possession of any writing.
Okay,
and that's great. That's wonderful. However, in order to devise the plans with which all these blocks would fit together at Pumapunku, especially. Which, by the way, Pumapunku, just so that this is clear, is part of Tiwanaku. It is in the same vicinity. It's in the same temple complex. It is a part of Tiwanaku. So just, because people sometimes think it's a completely different area, it's not. It's about 250 yards away from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, when you look at it on Google Maps, it's right there. It's amazing how you can hit it with a rock.
Yes. It's all in walking distance. And, also the gate of the moon and of the sun, these intricate designs, at some point they had to have been devised on paper to see what the final product looked like. Because especially since a lot of these blocks are interlocking, or what, a computer model? I don't know. So the fact that that archaeology says that there was no writing, they're shooting themselves in the foot. As odd as this sounds.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm going. So no writing. So let's scratch a few things off the list. No paper. No T-squares, no way to mechanically devise drawings or blueprints, no triangles, T-squares, pens, compasses, and so forth. So we take all of that off of the list. How were they mass producing these without having comprehensive technical knowledge from somewhere to reproduce block after block after block?
Well, and what's so interesting, too, is that, as David Childress always has said, and he frequently still says it to this day, and because he's right about this, it's as if this stuff, them using these giant blocks, it must have been easy, because otherwise nobody in their right mind would use these massive blocks with which to build something, unless you have a way with which weight no longer becomes an issue, or you have a way with which you can, you can control essentially the consistency of stone, because I've always maintained for many years that if you go to some of those places, especially at Sacsayhuaman, when you see those, or where you see those giant boulders that fit together like they were put together with putty, and you can't even put a dollar bill in between the fittings, it all fits perfectly together without a binding agent, and it's as if they were able to somehow soften the stone, and then it hardened once it was in place. So what if they had access to that type of technology and it just got lost over time?
When you go to Pumapunku, I haven't been there. Look forward to getting there. It's a bucket list place. But when you stand there and you look around, and all the video presentations that I've seen you do and everybody else, Brian Forster and so forth, when they pan around, there's absolutely nothing there. There is nothing there.
Yeah, no, nothing. That's another thing. It's an incredibly inhospitable place, and anyone that lives there now, and there are Bolivians that live there. Bless their hearts. They are living a rugged life of adventure. It's just constantly pelting with the wind. It's incredibly hot during the day, incredibly cold at night. We're at 12,800 feet altitude, so it's incredibly rarefied air up there. And
nothing grows, nothing lives. There's just like nothing there. And here we have Tiwanaku and Pumapunku just in the middle of nowhere. So where did they get the? You have to have the other key ingredients here. You have to have some type of farming, or you have to have something to eat. These guys are carving the bricks from somewhere, but they just appear to have dropped out of the sky, so to speak. I know that that's not the case, but they are completely by themselves in one of the most desolate places on Earth.
Yeah, it's incredibly harsh. Like I said, I mean, they, and the idea that they themselves say that, that these giants came out of Lake Titicaca, and they were able to, because they were so big, they used the stone to whittle down other stone, and so the Tiwanaku was built initially by giants. And, you hear stories like that, and it's like, man, you look around you, and it's so inhospitable, and some of these blocks and some of these mountain ranges, I mean, they just lay there, boom, as if they were just placed there. Obviously they weren't, but, it's a picture book place. I urge anyone to go and visit at least once. Try going in July, August, our time, because that is sort of their winter time over there, and so you'll be able to experience it when it's incredibly dry, because you don't want to go there when it's wet.
What about that bowl with the Sumerian Sanskrit?
Yeah, isn't that an interesting thing?
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
So in La Paz, there is a museum at the entrance for everyone to see is the Magna Fuente Bowl. And the Magna Fuente Bowl has been deemed authentic by each and every archaeologist that has looked at it, that was from Bolivia and from South America. However, the bowl itself, which, by the way, was discovered in and around Tiwanaku at the turn of the last century, so it was already in possession of archaeologists for over 100 years. And when the bowl itself shows Sumerian writing, and it was discovered in Tiwanaku, so this presents a problem because those two cultures supposedly never met. And so this bowl has been authenticated as being real, and American or most American archaeologists and also many European archaeologists, especially Sumerologists, but also archaeologists that deal with South American art, do not deem the Magna Fuente Bowl as authentic. Now, what do you do? What do you do? There's nothing you can do.
It's pretty amazing to me. When I look at it, it is what it is. That's what I think. It's exactly what they think it is. That looks like
right.
Sanskrit.
And, I think it's an incredible insult to suggest that, a Bolivian archaeologist knows less or has a weaker form of authenticating an artifact than an American archaeologist, or not an American, but an archaeologist from the United States. And or from Germany or something. I mean, who are they to say that, no, a bowl that features Sumerian writing cannot be found, especially in Tiwanaku? Well, why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not? And 100 years ago, who are you saying that somebody in South America just had this extraordinary knowledge of Sumerian Sanskrit that he could actually write it correctly and imitate it on the inside of a... Is that what you're suggesting? Because that's what, if it's not real, that's what they are suggesting. And that's where my BS meter starts to go off.
Right. And of course, we're the ones who are, propagating BS stories, and this is what makes no sense, because we really don't have to look far for stories such as this one, where we're like, well, wait a second, the BS meter is going off in whose favor here, because we have not put that bowl in that museum, and we are not the ones who are saying that it should be authenticated, because it has been authenticated. All we're saying is that how come that this authentication is not accepted unilaterally across the globe by every archaeologist? What's wrong with it?
When was the last time Sanskrit was actually used? How long ago?
I think it is still being used today with in temples and things like that. But it goes back to one of the first languages ever recorded.
Right. And
in fact, there are some that suggest. I mean, if you follow the works of Michael Cremo, with forbidden archaeology and things like that, that propose that there's an extreme antiquity on planet Earth, that some languages go back not thousands of years but hundreds of thousands of years, especially if you look at petroglyphs and things like that.
This question comes in from K28. He says, ask Giorgio if he knows anything about the treasure of Oak Island and how it might have been moved elsewhere. Interesting.
Right. Yeah, no, the treasure of Oak Island, that's something that's been very dear to my heart ever since I learned about it. When I read the books by Johannes and Peter Fiebach, the two brothers who have suggested that after, when George Sassoon and Rodney Dale in 1978 proposed in their book, The Manna Machine, that inside the Ark of the Covenant of the Old Testament there was a machine inside it that would feed or fed the Israelites during their 40-year wanderings through the desert, called the Manna Machine. And there was a nuclear-driven device, and that was why the Ark of the Covenant was important, and that's why it left after a while. The Ark of the Covenant stopped working, and so that's why people started to lose their hair and have boils on their skin and things like that. That the reason for that being was, and this is according to Sassoon and Dale, because of radiation poisoning. And so Dr. Fiebach and Peter Fiebach have suggested that the remains of the Ark of the Covenant have been brought to Oak Island, and so that perhaps at the bottom of that money pit are the remnants of the Ark of the Covenant, which in turn would be some type of an extraterrestrial device.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're getting close when it comes to Oak Island. I think we're getting close. What's
interesting too is that in the 80s they performed some type of ground-penetrating radar measurements, and they received back measurements of radiation, and the radiation measurements that came back, of a piece of cloth or a piece of coconut fiber or something like that, it showed a different age. It showed an age of 70 years into the past, and I think 100 years into the future. And the only way that can happen is if something radioactive is at the bottom of the money pit. And so they've determined that something is radioactively radiating. Who knows? If you watch The Curse of Oak Island, I don't think they've done anything about radioactive rays or anything like that, have they?
No, not yet. But the conclusion of last season, it looks like, and then I've got some other insider information that's come in over the last couple of weeks, that there's something going on there. There's something going on there. They've identified a chamber, off to the side of the shaft, and they can see the interior sides, and there's a couple of boxes at the bottom of it that they've been able to do with 3D imaging. And now we're close. We're really, really close. Be fascinating if we could finally,
I think it's great.
Yeah, and the reason, you know why, Giorgio? It's because it's one thing to look at, the jungles of Colombia or Peru or Bolivia or the American Southwest or Giza or, the Antikythera mechanism. These are all things of the ancient past. But this Oak Island is happening right in front of us, man, in real time.
Totally, yes. Yeah. No, and Oak Island, too. It's something, where we know that weird things have been going on there, at least for the last 200 years and then earlier, but at least, it's within our grasp. And so what if this truly is the resting place of some type of an artifact?
Yep. You know what? I'd be happy if it's just a trunk of gold.
Oh, sure.
That's just something is actually there that men
Those
didn't
are
die for. Yeah. That men didn't die for no reason, and this thing gets put to bed. Whatever it is, could it be the Ark? Would that be exciting? Something the Knights Templar, the Holy Grail, any of these, the lost works of Shakespeare, right? All of these are on the table. And it would just, be exciting to see that happen in real time, right in front of us. Trevor just tweeted, he said, Giorgio, do you think this ancient alien theory will be definitively answered in your lifetime?
I would be presumptuous to say yes, and so I would have to say I hope so. I hope so, because I can't say for sure yes. It would be wonderful, but at the same time, the time, as in relevance to the universe, is completely irrelevant. At the same time, if something happens in the next 5 years, or 50 years, or 500 years, or even 5,000 years. 5,000 years is like 5 seconds, or not even 5 split seconds to the universe. So, that's a hard question to answer. And do I think that we are more prepared for all these things? That's a resounding yes, because otherwise shows like Ancient Aliens wouldn't be on television.
Bingo.
And knockoff shows wouldn't be following, also very successful. And, podcasts and radio shows such as the one that I'm participating in right now. I mean, this is all, I'm always asked, when is disclosure coming? When do you think the press conference is happening? And the answer to that is that press conference or that memo will never come, because disclosure, we're in it. It's a process. It's a long, drawn-out thing that we're being prepared in understanding, hey, there's one thing we need to understand, and that's we're not alone in the universe. And you know what? It's okay, because in the end, there's nothing we can do about it anyway.
You get invited to the White House. You're now at season 15, right? You get invited to the White House, whoever's there, and you go in and you sit down with the president. And he's shaking your hand. Congratulations, Giorgio. What do you say to the president? What do you ask him?
I would never agree to that meeting.
Wow, really? What if it was somebody you liked?
No. I just don't care. I just don't care.
Wow. Okay, and what do you think about the Giorgio Tsoukalos memes and you are the meme king, you know that, that say Giorgio for president? What do you think about that when you see that?
I love them. I think the memes are all really funny, and each time a meme gets created, I have to thank the person who actually takes the time and the love to create some of those, and they a lot of them really make me laugh hard.
You know how I felt like I finally could take a breath with Fade to Black and the success of the show, where I can kind of back off a little bit and go, okay, we put in a lot of hard work, but I feel like I kind of made it. It's when I saw the Giorgio Jimmy Church meme.
Yes, that was a funny one.
I was like, man, all right. That felt pretty good. It was pretty funny. So you are the meme king, and I think all of it, none of it is evil. None of it's bad. None of it is in bad taste. But all of it says the same thing, and that is what you were saying earlier, that we are ready. If you are joking about it, or if people are acknowledging you and Ancient Aliens, then that means you matter. Do you understand? If you didn't matter, Giorgio, you don't get memes.
Well, to me, it's just all a side product of everything. But to me, I look at it that you have to look at it from a humor perspective, because clearly all of these memes are anything. They're memes, and if people think that I really said some of those things, then there's nothing I can do about that anyway.
Right.
So
right.
I think it's a great thing that's happened, because it also, if anything, it just raises even more questions to it brings more attention to the questions that we're all trying to ask.
And like I said, it just lets you know that what you are doing matters to everybody, and that's it. That's comedy and humor in society is acknowledgement. I will always look at it that way. And certainly those memes, as funny as some of them are, they just tell me Giorgio matters. And I'm not, I'm not stroking you. I'm saying that's society. That's society's message. And I really mean that. I want to get back. This has flown past me in Twitter now like 5 times, so let me get to it. It's an obvious question, but out of all the places that you've been to, which one is your favorite? And you've been all around the world. Yeah, that's a tough question.
You have to go back to Pumapunku, but look, there are so many places. I mean, look, Nazca is wonderful, but there are other places that have absolutely nothing to do with the ancient astronaut theory, or more indirectly. But, if you go to Santorini in Greece, it's just such a wonderful place, or Venice, Italy, wonderful places that I would never miss visiting. But, as far as ancient sites are concerned, obviously the Great Pyramids you're absolutely dumbfounded once you stand in front of them and they stand right there and you're right there. Only then will you realize how insignificantly small you are, because, those pyramids are just these massive mountains of rock. It's something unlike anything you've ever seen. And
I want to get back to that in just a second. We're going to spend some time on the Great Pyramids, but something else has flown by too many times. When you first saw our discovery that we hit with the Malibu underwater base last summer, when you first saw the pictures of that, I don't think I've talked to you directly about this. What did you think about the Malibu underwater base?
Yeah, very interesting stuff, and I liken it to that underwater thing that looked like the Millennium Falcon in the Baltic Sea that they discovered last year.
Yes.
That I guess they did go down there to check it out, and then they didn't. Those are all things that are incredibly interesting, especially since we've got access to all this, the different technologies.
Yep. When you first... Yeah, that's a long conversation. But when you first looked at it, doesn't it look, what's the word I want to use here? Temple-ish? The Malibu underwater base, the Baltic Sea, that Millennium Falcon, definitely. That's what it looks like. With the Malibu base, it feels temple-ish. You've got the pillars.
It's similar. It reminded me of what you can find in Yonaguni.
Yes.
The underwater structure there. In Okinawa, in Japan, there's something that was discovered in the mid-'90s, and Graham Hancock, he has scuba dived there, for example, and taken some pictures by Dr. Nakamura, who has dived there, and they discovered this very bizarre underwater structure that looked as if it was carved artificially. Where the rock itself was from some type of a natural formation, but then the steps or the platforms on that formation were perhaps cut artificially. We don't know. And so that's what those pictures of the Malibu thing, that's what I was reminded of when I saw it the first time.
With all of the civil unrest that's going on right now with ISIS and Syria and Iraq and the border of Turkey, and Göbekli Tepe's right there, man. It's not far from that border at all.
It really is, and it's really unfortunate, and it's heartbreaking and awful, and the stories that are coming out of that part of the world, especially that they've bulldozed Nineveh and priceless timeless archaeological sites were destroyed. I mean, it is absolutely an act of barbarism, and the fact that we are just standing by and nobody's doing anything, it is absolutely, my heart is numb.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you think about the Tower of Babel, and Göbekli Tepe, the hundreds, if not thousands, of ancient sites there, and the museums being pillaged, it rips my heart out, because this is the very cradle of everything, and once it's gone, you can't get it back.
No, you can't. You can't, and that's what it is. Absolutely, it's flabbergasting. It really is.
Where are we here? Okay, I wanted to get to, I'm reading, if you saw a Twitter right now, it's just like blip, 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 blip. It is just flying by. But I want to get back to the Great Pyramids, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll open up the phone lines. How's that sound?
Absolutely. Sounds great.
Okay. I'm going to ask you directly. When you're walking around Giza and you're looking at those pyramids, do you think? You know what? How old do you think they are? Do you think that they are at 3,500 BC, or are you thinking 50,000 years?
No, I think they're certainly not 3,500 BC. I don't think that they're 50,000 years old either. I think they are right around 15,000. And the reason why I'm saying 15,000 is because if we were to follow the work of Robert Bauval and the idea that with precession and by having the three pyramids lined up with Orion's belt, you can basically rewind the sky, or the picture in the sky, for thousands of years, and the moment when the three belts or three stars in Orion's belt line up with the three pyramid buildings, you get to around 11,500 BC, which is around 14,000 years ago. So this dates to a time when the ancient Egyptians spoke of a golden age, and that golden age was the time when the gods allegedly, lowercase g, were still mingling with human beings and imparting their knowledge upon our culture worldwide. And so, that to me is something very, very fascinating. The idea that the pyramids were not built by aliens. On the contrary, they were built by human beings, by the Egyptians, but as the ancient Egyptian texts are saying, with the knowledge given to the ancient Egyptians by the guardians of the sky. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that somebody aided their engineering knowledge.
Because I'll say this about me: if Pharaoh Jimmy was building the Great Pyramid, I'm putting my name on it. I'm putting my name all over it, inside, outside. I'd have 2.5 million blocks with my name on it, and that there's no evidence of any of that there. And what do you think of that? Why is it? Because everything else is tagged. Right? Everything else in Egypt is tagged. Anywhere you go, there's hieroglyphs from the floor to the ceiling, and on every wall, every sarcophagus, every block, everywhere you look, they documented everything. They wrote and wrote and wrote, and every pharaoh made sure that his story was there, except
right. And the only reason why the Khufu pyramid is named after Khufu is because a little statue was found, and the cartouche inside one of the relieving chambers, allegedly said Khufu, and that might have been a forgery. So, we still don't know exactly what's going on. And, if we look at the work that Davidovich did, for example, he proposed that perhaps the pyramids were the blocks were actually poured right there on the pyramid plateau as some type of, blocks poured in concrete or cement or something like that. And he discovered little shells that he found in there and human hair and things like that. I mean, just weird stuff. And each and every time, just because they are not, actual Egyptologists, but in Davidovitz's case, he was a scientist in polymer, and his expertise was polymer technology. He was shut down with his findings. And is that science? It's very bizarre to see that whenever something valid comes along by a fellow scientist, maybe not from the same field, but certainly a scientist, and then they're shut down because they're not from the particular field of expertise. It's weird.
Yeah, and if right now from ancient times to today, the one thing that we have grand, perfect evidence of that is still standing is the Giza Plateau and the Sphinx and the three pyramids, and I can assure you, 1,000,000 years from now, that's going to be the evidence that is still standing. We're not going to have Paris. New York isn't going to be there for evidence of anybody, but the pyramids are still going to be standing. And to say that that isn't a great representation of technology that we don't have today, when the argument, what do you mean that we couldn't do that today? Well, you know what? It's still going to be standing 1,000,000 years from now, and I can assure you that other modern cities are not.
No, and just to briefly interject, because that is an argument that is often made that sometimes we couldn't do stuff today. Personally, I actually would have to say that there's not a single thing that we cannot do today as far as replicating ancient monuments are concerned, including some of the those giant monoliths or lintel stones that can be found in Baalbek in Lebanon, for example. But in order for us to create a 1,000-ton obelisk, we would use the most gigantic of heavy machinery. So obviously, yes, we can do all this stuff today, but we would use the most sophisticated technology. And the idea that our ancestors did the exact same thing without that, high-tech technology, right there is where the argument falls apart, because you can either remain in the realm of reality and accept that that is a thing of the impossible, or you can, subscribe to the. I mean, it makes no sense.
What do you think about heating rocks? And when I look at, especially in Peru and in Bolivia, when you look at that it seems. Carving is out of the question is where I'm going. When you look at that, I mean, that is, if you're going to take something off the table, carving is off of the table.
No, I think it absolutely is carving, 100% with diamond drills or something like this, or some type of diamond tipped saws, because if you were to use a laser, for example, because a lot of times people propose that this was done, they were cut with some type of heating elements or things like that. That is a very fascinating idea. However, we actually were able to cut Pumapunku rock with a laser, and we were able to determine that these rocks in the past were not cut with lasers, because if you expose that type of rock, andesite, to laser, which is bundled very high temperature light, then the surface that is left behind on the cut surface is completely black, globulized or crystallized glass. So it's very uneven and very scarred. So it's not that. And then somebody told me, oh, maybe they had access to a cold type of laser, but I'm not quite sure if that's even technologically possible.
This is a question from Michael D. Reese. He says, why is the ancient advanced technology, why are they trying to squelch it by the establishment?
Well, I think it's because we have this weird notion that everything works linear from point A to point B, from point B to point C, from C to D, and so on and so forth, where I think that in nature, if we look at everything around us, and nothing is linear in that sense. Everything is cyclical. Everything is an up and a down. Everything, after every valley, there's a peak, and after every peak, there's a valley. So it's a cyclical thing. And so, somehow it was established that everything came to a standstill in the Middle Ages. Everything began from scratch. And so everything that we now know is this mass of knowledge that we've amassed since the Middle Ages, so to speak. I mean, obviously this is wrong, but that's the attitude that we have established. And anything that's happened before, like the Hindus knowing that the Earth has always been a sphere, well, this was established fact. And, our culture only came up with this a few hundred years ago. So, it depends on from what perspective are we looking at everything. Because I personally think that, humankind, whether it was for extraterrestrials or not, has been around for way longer than, we are being told in textbooks today.
Do you think they're holding back? In Egypt, do you think they're holding back? Do you think they're sandbagging? Do you think they have something that would absolutely rewrite everything and they're just not talking about it?
Well, I would think that it would apply to everywhere, not just Egypt. I mean, if anything ever were discovered at, let's say, at Tiwanaku, at this point or in this time of day, do we really trust whoever is in charge that we will see what was being unearthed or uncovered? I mean, that's a valid question in this day and age.
When I think it's at Tiwanaku, the temple with all of the races, the faces. Yeah. What temple is that with all the faces that are carved? That's
the underground temple of Kalalasa.
Yes. How how does academia even attempt to explain that? Because now you're talking about you're not only talking about Sumerians and bearded people, but you're talking about Asia. Africa, every race, it seems, is represented on those walls, including one that looks freakishly like a gray. How does academia even attempt to explain that?
And it's beautiful. I mean, the carvings are just impeccable and really, really nice. And it looks like a United Nations. That's one of the most beautiful places. It's truly amazing.
Yeah, I don't get it. When it comes to so much evidence coming out of South America, when you go down and you look at each one of those faces one by one by one, where did they get that unless cross-pollination? You know what I mean? Somebody had the technology to not only go to those other continents, but those other continents came back over here, and how did they get here? And I find that fascinating. I wanted to ask...
And that's the whole thing that, and of course what the ancient astronaut theory proposes is that, this contact not only took place between cultures way back in the day, but instead of this contact only having taken place by boat or by, navigation by sea, this contact also 100% took place by aviation. And we have evidence for this all around the world with stories like the Queen of Sheba, taking her caravan to see King Solomon, and then after they fell in love, he said, well, you know what? I don't want you to take your caravan back and be on the road for 2 months, but you know what? I'll give you one of my heavenly chariots. And she wrote in her diary, she said that the way that it took her caravan 2 months to fly on foot, she was able to fly back in 2 days. And this is written in the Keber Nagas, the Book of Kings, or the Glory of the Kings of Ethiopia. I mean, all those stories, are they all 100% fantasy, or are they based on some type of eyewitness accounts? And I personally, and that is my personal opinion, I think that they're based on some type of ancient eyewitness accounts.
What about one of my favorites, and I know it's yours too, all of the golden airplanes from Colombia? When you look at those, and every time I see you've got your pin on, I went out to dinner last week with Jason Martell. Rita and I, we went out and had dinner, and Jason's got, he's got his pin on. I tried to steal it. He caught me twice. But when you look at, and there was how many were found? A couple of hundred?
Well, we're referring to these gold objects, and they are actually, there are hundreds of thousands that were found that look like animals, like fish and birds and, different, objects from the animal kingdom. And out of these hundreds of thousands, 17 were found that, compared to modern-day planes, they are eerily reminiscent. Almost identical. And so in the 90s, these two engineers, a dentist and a airport controller, Air Force controller, they were, or still are, hobby model plane builders, and they took two of those models from the ancient Columbian world, pre-Columbian world, and blew it up to about a yard and a half. They put a propeller inside, they threw it up in the air, and it flew with the most amazing of aerobatic capabilities. Truly amazing. And, people are suggesting, this is just a coincidence. They're just, stylized birds or stylized fish. And, not noticing or admitting that the powers of observation of our ancestors, they were impeccable. And from the same cultures, from the same areas, they did have fish. They did have insects made out of the same gold material, but they don't look anything like those planes.
If you're going to take the time to make a little golden artifact out of, a precious metal, then you're going to make it exact. You're not going to mess up on a bird and give a bird a vertical tail fin. It's just not going. It's not going to happen. And when you look at those 17. Do any of them remotely look like an insect? They don't, do they? No, they don't.
That's the thing, too. And if you look at the one that is like a bat, then you can actually see that they put the ears like from a bat and things like that, and the face of a bat, but with those things that look like a plane. One has a clearly visible propeller, at the front. So, of course, and then the skeptics would say, well, isn't it odd then that back in the day they would have a plane with a propeller? Well, I'm sorry, the laws of aerodynamics apply today as they applied to 10,000 years ago. A propeller is a propeller is a propeller. So I don't even understand the argument.
Let's take a quick break, Giorgio, and then we'll come back and we'll open up the phone lines. How's that sound?
Very good.
All right. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Giorgio Tsoukalos, Ancient Aliens. When we come back after the break, we'll be taking your phone calls. 323-825-5045, 323-825-5045. Let's get the calls going, and we'll be back right after this short break. Stay with us.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit FNGinnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's FNGinnovations.com.
Now you can find all your favorite talk radio shows live, all in one place at TalkStreamLive.com. Listen from anywhere, office, home, or in your car. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com and click on one of the many live talk show hosts you want to listen to. It's free and easy. No computer? Download the smartphone apps. Never miss your favorite talk show. Find them all at TalkStreamLive.com.
Hi, Ray Sobbs here with KGRA. Spring is just around the corner here in Northwest Arkansas, and that means it's almost time for the 28th Annual Ozark Mountain UFO Conference, continuing a time-honored tradition of bringing thought-provoking information about other worlds around us. Join me and the KGRA crew April 10th through the 12th in beautiful Eureka Springs, Arkansas, for another great lineup of speakers, including investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe, the National UFO Reporting Center's Peter Davenport, returning to Ozark as this year's keynote speaker, author and American historian Richard Dolan, and many more. The KGRA will be there broadcasting live all weekend. Register and reserve your seating early and pick up a free membership from the KGRA and Ozark Mountain Publishing. Visit www.ozarkufoconference.com for tickets and information. That's ozarkufoconference.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Giorgio Tsoukalos, Ancient Aliens. Call-in number 323-825-5045. You can Skype in, Fade to Black 14. Tomorrow night, Joel Garbin will be with us. Wednesday night, Spencer Cross, Monoatomic Gold, and the Great Pyramids of Giza. But tonight, we're going to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black with Giorgio Tsoukalos. Who's calling? Say hi to Giorgio.
Oh, that's me?
Yes, you are live.
Oh, great. Hi, good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Say hi to Giorgio.
Hi, Giorgio. My name's Shannon. I'm calling from Maine. How are you guys doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm great, thanks. My question this evening was, if in your travels in search of aliens, if you've ever had an experience where you used a mystic or a medium or someone of that nature to maybe like hone in on a hot spot or find out some, something that wasn't clear to you before meeting the mystic.
No. But I can tell you that there are definitely places where you can feel the different energies. I mean, personally, I can definitely feel the energies of different places, and it would have been definitely interesting to also consult a mystic on different occasions. But at the same time, that's not something that I'm after. While I'm definitely aware of it, it is not something that I would have to say has anything to do with physical extraterrestrial type activities.
Oh, very interesting. Well, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great night and keep on doing what you're doing, man. I've been watching you for years, and we make it an event at our house to watch Ancient Aliens when it comes on. And I just thank you for your time, guys, and, peace will someday come. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, too. Thank you.
She brought up two good points. Number one of my favorite things is an Ancient Alien marathon. I swear to you, man. It's one of the coolest things ever. But second, do you it's one thing to use a mystic. I get that and why you haven't and so forth. But what about energy at certain places? Can you feel it? Can you feel like there's something going on? And if so, which place is the most mystical?
Well, I'm not sure which place is the most mystical, but to me, I can definitely pick up on the energy of a place. Am I guided by it? Do I, pay any great attention to it? Absolutely not. But, at the same time, there's a reason why so many places that have become holy or sacred over time are sacred, because we all know that the world is surrounded by these different magnetic lines, and there are these different nodes and these grids, and we are, as biological beings, influenced by magnetic fields. And so there are many quote-unquote holy places that are smack dab in the center of giant magnetic fields. And so it's possible that due to their location and due to the magnetic fields, that in conjunction of those forces that play in those places, that they have some type of beneficial impact upon all of us. So, because we are, in the end, we're all animals. We're all creatures made out of molecules, and our environment certainly has an impact upon who we are.
Phone lines are open, 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. Let's go back to the phones. Hi. Say hi to Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Good evening, Jimmy. It's a good start to the week. And hello, Giorgio. You're appreciated here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you're speaking, when you were on this program, you're speaking to a lot of people who are open-minded believers or definitely converted. And you're a strong opinionated person. And I guess what I'd like to ask you is, what is your opinion about past cultures? Some have seemed to have been more open about others visiting and helping them. Others may have covered it up. And now today, in modern society, we're covering it up. You talked a little bit about it about an hour ago, but what is your feeling about why it's going on this way?
Thank you for the call, Dino.
All right. Good night.
Yeah, thanks for the call, and also thanks for the question. And, I really see the whole idea of it being covered up, that to me, it's such an incredible, it's just a wonderful thing to say that things are being covered up. But if it were covered up, shows like Ancient Aliens wouldn't be on the air. Radio shows like this wouldn't exist. And certainly I would not be talking about these things, because none of this stuff that I'm talking about has been given to me in secret meetings. The only secret meetings that I've had in my entire life were me, myself, and I at the library going through old and dusty books. That's about as secret as it's ever gotten. So, if that's what the cover-up is all about, that somebody has to go and do their work at a dusty old library, hey, that's what I signed up for, and it was incredible. I loved every second of it, and I still do. So it's not a cover-up, in my opinion. It's just that we as a society have become so lazy to not do anything anymore, but just rely on the knowledge of other people before we go out there and do the research ourselves.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Giorgio Tsoukalos. Who's calling?
Hello, it's Katya.
Hey, Katya, how are you tonight? Say hi to Giorgio.
Hi, Giorgio.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Hey, I have a question, and I don't know if anyone's ever asked you, what star system do you align with? Like, what do you feel a resonance with?
I have no idea.
That's Katya, ask me ask me the same question.
Okay. Well, what star relatives do you feel close with? Andromedan, Pleiadian, Arcturian? I mean, have you had any experiences, spiritual experiences where you were like, okay, these, maybe I'm getting telepathic messages from beings from one of these star systems. Have you ever...
Are you asking me or are you asking Jimmy now? Because if you're asking
I'm asking you.
It's a resounding no to all those...
Jimmy. You're next, Jimmy, but first Giorgio.
Well, Giorgio says no, and I understand. I guess, Giorgio, what you're saying is you haven't felt a connection to any races or any connections at all.
No, because number one, I don't know who they are, and number two, the fact alone that they are from not planet Earth is sensational enough. Who cares where they're from? They're from another planetary system. So that right there, I love them all. I don't care who they are. I love them. They're ETs.
Right. Well, because there's just a lot of ET folklore, and people have, for instance, I mean, I work as a medium, I work as a psychic, and what I get from you is that you're Andromedan.
There you go.
All right, now we know.
Because, I mean, eventually our galaxy is going to merge with Andromeda. So there's a lot of exchange going on because, they're kind of like the big urban city, and we're kind of like the country bumpkin cousins. And so they're kind of upgrading us, getting us ready for the merge, you see.
Yes.
Which is going to take a billion years,
and
so I'm sure.
And I feel like you are one of those ambassadors, You are one of the ambassadors. And I feel like, and it's what Chief says, is that the Andromedans that are so backwards that they are straight. You're so, you go so fast that you are just ahead of the game, your brain.
Thank you so much for the call, Katya.
Good job.
All the best.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Let's keep going to the phones. I've got calls they're backed up. If you're on hold, just stay right there. I will get to everybody. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black with Giorgio Tsoukalos. Who's calling? Say hi to Giorgio.
Hello, gentlemen. Hello, it's Giorgio.
How you doing?
Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Hi. Hey, I was calling. I was wanting to know about, just get your thoughts on the late Lloyd Pye and the Star Child skull.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
If I just kind of what's going on, if you knew anything about that and what was going on since he's gone.
Thank you for the call, Josh.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. The best person I think that would know about this is Brian Forster, and I think if you check out his Facebook page, he has updates every once in a while. What I do find intriguing, though, is that there is a similar skull at the Paracas Museum in Paracas, Peru, that is very similar looking to the Star Child skull. And I was unaware of this until very recently, and that, I think, is pretty cool.
Yeah, and now that Lloyd is no longer with us, it seems like, and I want to say this the right way, but it seems like that the Star Child skull doesn't have its ambassador anymore. Well, certainly, it doesn't because Lloyd isn't with us anymore, but it seems like that push behind the skull is kind of it's kind of waned a little bit, and it's very unfortunate because I think it's a very significant discovery.
Well, I mean, he was its curator, and he did everything possible to shed light on it, and it's really unfortunate. Another one that left way too early. That
one presentation that he did, I watch it all the time. What was it called? Everything That You Know Is Wrong.
Yes.
That presentation. Oh, man. I don't know how many views on YouTube, but it's in the millions. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? And say hi to Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Jimmy, it's Tammy.
Hi,
Hello, Giorgio.
Hi, Tammy.
You have got me just so jealous, Giorgio, for two reasons. One, I love your hair. And two, my favorite subject has always been history, yet I've never been able to find or go back as far as you have, are there books that you would recommend for someone that loves history to read?
Oh, great question.
Yes, absolutely. Books are always the first place to go to over the internet. There's no question. And that is, I would definitely recommend you read The Ancient Alien Question by Philip Coppens, the late Philip Coppens. And he also wrote a book about megalithic mysteries that he followed up after The Ancient Aliens Question. And, it never hurts to read a new book by Von Daniken, like Twilight of the Gods is a great book that talks at length about Puma Punku. And then, any of the books by David Childress. I mean, Technology of the Gods or any of his Lost Cities and Lost Continents books are always great reads.
Thank you so much, sir.
And anything else, Tammy?
Well, I've been teasing him about his hair all night because I am so jealous. Mine is so thick, I cannot get it to just lighten up a little. And I was teasing him about using mousse and posting Alaskan. When I meet him at CITD, I will definitely get some tips.
Okay, there you go. Thank you so much, Tammy.
All right, guys. Bye.
Giorgio, what about that? Do you feel not the hair, but you're a celebrity now. You've got that celebrity status that's it. You can't shake it. You've got it, and that's not going to go anywhere. Do you feel the pressure of fans and people that want to know, they want to ask questions, and they look up to you, and they come up? Do you feel the pressure of giving the right answer?
No, because the answer I give is always the answer you're going to get because, there are questions or there are questions that I don't have the answer to. And, that's why, it's like what I was alluding to earlier, the meme is wonderful and all of this, but the answer to the questions obviously is not always aliens. And, that is the question that we have to ask ourselves, is to offer the possible solution, aliens valid or not? I mean, that is what we're trying to ask. And so, if a fan has a question and I don't know the answer, I will tell you, because there are too many people in this day and age, especially in this field, that claim to have the answer to everything. And I'm the last person to be that, even though the meme, tries to tell you otherwise. But, that's why I'm enjoying having conversations like this, because they get to meet the person that I am and not what the media portrays me to be.
When you're out in public, and, that is something that we all fight with celebrity, but when you're out in public, is it more difficult now? Have you given up your privacy?
No, it's all good. It's all fine. And I've always said this before, and I'll say it again. I've got the best fans in the world. I mean, they're all so lovely. They're all so kind, and most of them, all they want to do is share a story. And what more wonderful than to be, to lend an ear to a story that, for all intents and purposes, might have been very dramatic to them. And who am I to say that I'm not going to listen, or what you just told me is not true?
Right. When last year at Contact in the Desert, you remember when the power went out? Oh my goodness! And
yes, do I ever?
Oh man! And I walked in. I walked into your presentation, and it was packed. It was packed, and you didn't have any juice, and you were speaking to the crowd, and you could hear a pin drop in there, and it was pretty amazing. But what was even more amazing to me was how the amount of respect. There was probably 1,000 people in that room, and they gave you your space. Well, sort of. But how does that make you feel? Does it, and what I'm saying is, does it let you know that you're doing the right thing, that you're on track? You know, you're not being fought, and everybody just wants to listen and to absorb what you're presenting. Does that just let you know that you're on the right track and that you don't need to let your foot off the gas?
Well, it shows me that something that I do resonates, and that's all I care about, because all I want is for people to be inspired by things that I talk about. And my biggest vindication always comes when somebody sends me a couple of new photographs, or somebody sends me a couple of pages of research that they said, well, you know, a few weeks ago I saw you at a lecture and you talked about this, and when I got home I did some more research and I came up with this. So for me, the most exciting part is always that if somebody sees what I do or the questions that I ask and brings them to the next level by either incorporating it into their own research or by coming up with something, or as in the case of, you know, Ancient Aliens. I mean, now we're almost in our 8th season, and, you know, now we have people that have been with us almost half of their lives, and some of these kids will become archaeologists. And what if the reason they became archaeologists was because as kids their parents showed them Ancient Aliens? So we are in that paradigm shift. Things are changing, and I think that we are experiencing an incredible future.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Giorgio Tsoukalos. Who's calling?
Yeah, hi, this is Jeffrey K. Hi, Jimmy. Good evening, and good evening, Giorgio. Really appreciate love the Ancient Aliens. I also love your other show, In Search of Aliens, and I hope there's a lot of new episodes coming on that. Do have a question about, there's been a lot of speculation about ruins on the planet Mars. First of all, do you believe that the ruins, if they are there, are similar or related to ruins that we have here? And if NASA tomorrow, if it made it possible for you to travel to Mars, would you take that flight to check out any ruins?
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Those are great questions, Jeffrey. And yes, I would immediately take that flight tomorrow if I were given the opportunity, including if there was no guarantee of a return. And as far as the question is concerned, about ruins on Mars, Mars isn't necessarily my specialty. However, the idea itself, or the proposition that at some point Mars had an atmosphere, and that before the atmosphere got destroyed and before whatever civilization, if a civilization existed on Mars, that they somehow escaped to Earth, thus making us the Martians. I mean, that is an idea that has been around for a very long time, even before the ancient astronaut theory was popularized in the 60s and in the 70s. So, you know, I think that we definitely should look for life elsewhere, you know, outside of planet Earth, and Mars is definitely, or should be, a number one spot to look for life anyway, especially if we look at, you know, on Mars and the Cydonia region and all that stuff, because is that all fantasy or is something there?
You know what's amazing to me, and you just touched on this, but it's going to be, almost 40 years since Chariots of the Gods. 40 years. And it's as strong today as when it came out. And as far as the debunking goes, that's all been completely unsuccessful.
Well, I agree with you, but at the same time, you know, not a day goes by when we read from the other side that we said that the aliens built the pyramids and that the Nazca lines were the landing strips of ET spaceships.
Right.
I mean, that is something that, seriously, we read this every day, that's what I said, or that's what Eric von Daniken said, and I can guarantee to anyone that nobody ever has seriously suggested, at least from my camp, that aliens built the pyramids, or that the Nazca lines were used as landing strips. It's impossible because the Nazca lines are made in sand. If you have a spaceship or any type of a heavy plane landing there, it would sink into the sand. So, I mean, these arguments have remained the same also for the past 40 years. So that's also laughable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it's just, to me, it just gets stronger and stronger, Giorgio. And one of the arguments that is easy to have is when they say, the other side, as you put it, well, prove that ancient aliens were here. Where's the prove to me that they weren't. Show me the proof that they weren't here, and then we're cool.
Right.
But you can't.
And in reference to that's something that I've said for a very long time. The only way that the ancient astronaut theory can be disproven if the aliens will show up one day officially and tell us that they were never here in the past.
Right.
It's the only way.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it, man. What are you going to be talking about at Contact in the Desert this time around?
Well, hopefully this time we'll have juice, and I'll be able to show some of the material that I wanted to show last time. But there's always new things that I come across, and so I never try to set myself too far in advance, because last time there was a discovery of that planet that they made, so I incorporated that. And usually I like to incorporate stuff that's fairly new. I mean, just today they were talking about how we have to be careful about sending out signals, because Elon Musk today said, or a few days ago said, that if we make our presence known, then aliens would have us as their pets. And, this is all wonderful, and everybody is trying to insert themselves into the extraterrestrial question and things like that. But everybody is so incredibly misinformed. If aliens wanted to have us as pets, this would have already happened a long time ago. So the idea that now we have to be careful with whatever signals it is that we are sending out into space, it's already too late. It's been too late for ever since we've had guns and things like that, because each and every time an echo sounds, that is somewhere now in the ether of space forever. So, it's all wonderful, the stuff that's being said, but so many things are being said, especially as far as the extraterrestrial question is concerned by the mainstream. It's just, stupid blah, blah.
With the interaction that has gone on for millennia, quite possibly much longer than that, it could be 500,000 years that we've had contact with them, with civilizations that have come and gone here on planet Earth. But are we still being visited today? Is that interaction still going on? And if it's not, why not?
Absolutely. I do think that we are still being observed. There's no question in my mind about that. Because, I think that there are many sociologists and scientists who have proposed the idea that, and they're bright minds. I mean, there are astronomers and astrobiologists that subscribe to the idea of some call it a zoo hypothesis scenario, where we are essentially a zoo, and on weekends ETs come here to observe us like we would go to a zoo on weekends, San Diego Zoo or something like this. I mean, those scenarios, those ideas, they exist. And so what the ancient astronaut theory suggests, the one that I represent, is that a long time ago, our genetic makeup was artificially changed by extraterrestrials. They essentially gave us the tools and the morals and the ideas so that we eventually would achieve everything that we have achieved to this day. And so the idea is that receiving or having received this knowledge that at some point we have received help from elsewhere. And so it's basically a question of applying this throughout the entire universe.
Thank you for coming on tonight, my brother. Now, listen, Friday, May 29th, out at Contact in the Desert, we'll be broadcasting from the Nexus Room live. And so I would like to take this chance right now to invite you on for 5 or 10 minutes and come in and hang out with us. And we'll do this live in front of a studio audience there. We're going to have, all the main guys on the show that night. But if you're available and you're not speaking at that moment, Friday night, come and hang out with us over at the Nexus Room and stop by and say hi.
Absolutely. And I definitely would like to tell the entire audience, all of your Fadernauts, thank you very much for having me on. And if you've never been to Contact in the Desert, really come check it out. It's awesome. It's out in Joshua Tree, so there is no light pollution at night. You can see the Milky Way. It's set in a really beautiful bungalow setting in the desert. There's a labyrinth there that you can watch, and the people, the vibe there in general is really awesome. So, Jimmy, you've been there. It's a great event.
It is a great event, and unless you've been there and you touched, you said one thing, the warmth and the inquisitiveness of all the attendees, everybody there wanting to learn and talk and have a great time, just a gathering of like-minded people by the thousands at a very nice facility. It's very unique. You're not going to go to another convention like this anywhere in the world. It is truly a unique experience out there in the desert.
Right.
Thank you so much, Giorgio. I'll talk to you soon, my brother, and we'll see you. Man, I can't believe it. It's less than 2 months away. So we'll see you then.
Absolutely. And Jimmy, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I can't wait to do this again.
You got it. Thank you, Giorgio.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Giorgio Tsoukalos, everybody. Thank you so much. Let's take a quick break. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network, KGRA The Planet. Happy birthday to KGRA, 3 years young. Many, 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 many more to come. Thank you, Giorgio Tsoukalos. I'm going to open up the phone lines. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Phone lines are open when I come back.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Game Changer Network, KGRA The Planet, 3 years young today. Happy birthday, KGRA. Race Hobbs, the crew. All right. Now, a couple of things really quick. I just want to wrap up and say, hey, thank you, Giorgio. One of the points that I really wanted to drive home tonight, and Giorgio said it well, that ancient aliens and the theory, it is as strong today as when Eric von Daniken published Chariots of the Gods. When was that? 1969, 1968, 69, 1970. The movie came out, 71, 72. It's as strong today as ever. And the popularity of Ancient Aliens says all of that. And I've got a few minutes left in tonight's program. 323-825-5045. I want to know, do you subscribe to the Ancient Alien Theory? You probably do, but I want to know. 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. There were a bunch of Skype calls that came in tonight, and I didn't answer any of them. So I'm going to let you know if you were calling in on Skype. Here comes hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Stay with me. If you were calling in on Skype tonight, there was something going on in the software, and I couldn't join phone calls. And I'm looking at another one coming in now. Sebastian, stay with me. There's something wrong with your Skype. Hi, who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, it's Allison. How are you?
Hi, Allison. How are you?
I am very good. It was such an excellent show. Oh, my God.
Wasn't that fun?
Yes, it really, really was.
Giorgio's
he is such...
Go ahead.
He's such a gentleman. I mean, what a soul. Oh, my gosh. And what a researcher.
Yes.
I think he has been led to, you know how he comes across, he's very scientific, he's all about the evidence, but he's very honest about where the evidence has led him. And man, do I respect that. I was so impressed with that about him.
Yeah, you know what else was when Katya brought up the subject of, what constellation or, what, where do you identify yourself with? And he's like, dude, I don't. And what does it matter? Or how about when I asked him about if he would get invited to the White House? What would you ask him about? I wouldn't go. I was like, wow, you know what? That says a lot. That says a lot about your character. That really does.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's not about all of the grand theater that the rest of them have created for us. It's about the real honesty of the situation. And I was just so blown away by that. I really respect this dude. And I got to say, if he's still listening, I just want to just pass out kudos and thank yous because, I woke up as a kid and I really was like into this. And then, of course, life and children and all sorts of stuff take over. And here I am in my late 50s and I'm watching Ancient Aliens going, oh, my God, yes. And not only that, he ties it to history so that it's not just something that is hanging out there in the future that's real, out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Real.
Yes, and I think the other thing that you're trying, and thank you for the call, Allison, what I think that you identify with, which is something that I identify with, is that, you know what, Giorgio's just one of us. He just wants to know.
Yeah.
He's got questions, and he wants to know. He doesn't say that he's a physicist. He doesn't say that he's, working on a new string theory. and there's 12 dimensions, and he's trying to find a 14th. He's not about.
Oh, God, thank you.
Yes. He's just one of us, and he's asking the same questions that he just happens to be in the enviable position of researching and being able to present it on a very successful TV show. But his feet are on the ground. His hair is in the clouds, but his feet are on the ground. Thank you so much, Allison. All the best.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. It's Carol in Medicine Hat, Alberta.
What are you doing, Medicine Hat Carol in Alberta? I talked about you tonight with Giorgio. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
How'd you feel?
And that was amazing. I feel like I'm famous now.
So I need some more pictures, man. I told Giorgio I was going to send them to him. I'll send him what I've got, but if you ever get a chance, take some more. People are asking about it, Carol. They're asking. I wish I had the time to just get a team together and fly up there and go check it out. But it's your mission in life.
There is a airport in Medicine Hat.
I'm sure there is. I don't even want to. How many planes land there in a week?
Oh God, they fly over where I am all the time.
I'm just giving you a hard time. You know that.
I know. But
airport.
It's not on the coast.
Well, hold on. Let me just imagine this for a second. Medicine Hat International Airport. I'm just imagining that for a second. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. So,
there's one thing I need to correct you on.
What's that?
Alberta is totally landlocked. There is no coast in Alberta.
Yeah, when I said that, Carol, I caught myself saying it. The reason why I said it is back. You got to remember, it was a year ago. It was over a year ago when you first told me about this, and for some reason in my mind's eye at that moment when I was speaking to Giorgio about that I was picturing you on the coast, and that's why it came out. It's live radio, man. You got to give me a break,
I know. But also, there's a couple other things I wanted to tell you about that place. 7 Persons, Alberta, is the closest little town to it. And when I took my pictures there, and I looked at, how it prints the address on your phone by the picture?
Yep.
It said Orion on it.
Oh, it did not.
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know why.
Wow.
It says Orion for where those rocks are.
Interesting. No, isn't that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got it. So it's 7 Persons, Alberta.
Yep.
Okay, I've got it right here.
And the way 7 Persons got its name was from the natives around here. And back in the day before the Europeans came over, the Blackfoot tribe was going to have a big fight with the Cree tribe, which was further north. And so they were massing their people and bringing them along. And they were going along the river, and they came across these 3 guys that had been following each other Indian style, like behind each other.
Right.
That had fallen over on the ground. They weren't injured. They checked their food and their supplies, and they had enough food with them to last 2 weeks. They looked like they were freshly dead from something that just dropped them. And they didn't have a hair on their head. And so they didn't know what to do. And so finally, one medicine man, his name was Chief Yellow Calf Shirt, said, why don't we pile up rocks around these guys so that none of the animals will eat them, because maybe they had a disease, and then if our people hunt the animals, they'll get sick. So they walled them all off, each body that was there. And they took off, fought the war, and they won. And they came back in the springtime to check it out, and they found the walls, but inside those walls, there wasn't a scrap of anything left of those people. No bones, no cloth, no leather, nothing.
Interesting.
And yes, and when I drive around out there, you know, the compass that's in the newer vehicles that you can look and see if you're going east or west or whatever.
Right.
Sometimes it changes to a letter C, and that's it. It doesn't say north, south, anything. It just says C.
What?
Yes.
It's C for Canada.
I don't know, maybe.
It's C for Canada. You're driving north. I've never seen a C on an electronic compass in a car.
Neither have I, but the next time it happens, I will take a picture of it with my camera and send it to you.
I'm writing this one down, too. I've got 7 persons. See, Carol, you're a pillar of knowledge. Okay, C on a compass. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. Could be for Canada.
I know.
So.
I know. And so, like, to me, I think there's some kind of magnetic weirdness going on around there.
Thank you so much for the call, Carol. And
you're welcome.
Again, all the best. Give my best to your better half. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, Jimmy.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
This is Mark from the Oregon coast, Jimmy.
Hey, Mark from the Oregon. Is there a coast in Oregon, even a little one?
There is, and I'm right on it.
Okay, just checking.
I like to tell people I live on the edge of the world. That's true.
What's going on tonight, brother?
Well, you ask about ancient aliens and whether we believe in that theory or not, and, well, I do. And I think it's really the logical conclusion to come to. Giorgio said something that really rang a bell with me that I'd kind of forgotten. But it was probably a turning point when I made that decision internally. And it was when he talked about instilling humanity with a sense of morality and giving us rules like the 10 Commandments to follow.
Right.
And I think that after I'd watched Von Daniken's early film, Chariot of Fire, I kind of came away from that and I looked at that and I thought, well, if you did come here from another world and you did want to teach people how to grow a civilization that eventually could become part of something larger, then you would have to give them the 10 Commandments.
Sure. One of the things that I was going to mention to him tonight, and I think it even popped by on Twitter a little bit later, but at one point I wanted to just say, look, was Arthur C. Clarke right? You know, the beginning of 2001, now granted that was millions of years ago, but if you think about that, and that was before Chariots of the Gods had come out. And Arthur C. Clarke wrote that original short story. Man, I want to say it was like 1955. I could be wrong, but it was in the 50s for sure. What was it called? Foundations.
It was the Foundation series.
Yes. And so was worth.
Well, that was Asimov.
Asimov. What was the one? What was the name of Arthur C. Clarke's short story? Somebody in Twitter, come on, just go ahead and hurry up and tweet it so I can read it. What?
Come on, Les.
Yeah, right. Les, where are you? But anyway, was he right? When we were talking about education, where does the education come from? Where does it come from? Where does it's one thing to be inspired about something. You see lightning hit a tree, you see fire. Oh, and you're going to go and try to recreate fire because it made you warm when the trees were burning down around you and you got it and there was heat there. All right. Is that enough for the invention of fire? Is that enough? Cooking food. So a bison or a woolly mammoth ran into a burning forest and he smelled it and you're like, wow, that smells good to me. So instead of raw meat, I want cooked meat. I don't know. I don't know where all of this inspiration came from and all of this knowledge. I don't know. But I like to go back.
I like to go back to what Zecharia Sitchin said that the Sumerians said over and over.
The
in
Sentinel.
their
The Sentinel.
writings.
The Sentinel.
The Sentinel, yeah, that's the book. But he said that they over and over they said that everything that we've learned, kingship, agriculture, government, metalworking, glass blowing, medicine, everything, all of the higher forms of civilization, we learned from the Anunnaki and are from the Nephilim, and they came from another world, and they came here and they taught us, and we owe everything to them. You can't really be any more straightforward than that, and that's the oldest writing that we have, except for possibly Sanskrit, which basically tells the same story.
Yes. And what is wrong with that, though? What is insulting when archaeologists and historians will say you're taking away you're not you're taking away the credit and the intelligence of no, we're not. What is wrong with being taught something from somebody else? What is wrong? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. And Tsoukalos said it really well. You teach your kids, don't you? You know what I mean? You teach your kids.
Hopefully you teach your children well, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's it. That's how we... Right. So what is wrong? So what if it did happen? What's wrong with it? It got us to where we are here today.
Exactly.
And I just it just irritates me. And there are too many giant leaps in technology that just came out of nowhere. And the wheel is definitely one of them. And math and farming. Let me tell you something. The intelligence that it took to get wheat correct, okay? To get wheat correct, to make it edible, to be able to farm it, to be able to regrow it, seemed to have happened overnight. And, man, I'm going to get email about this tomorrow. Somebody's going to call church, man, get your facts straight. It didn't happen overnight. You know what? Stop that.
Jimmy,
the intelligence.
You're absolutely right. To hybridize wheat from a primitive grass into a larger grain the size of wheat is amazing. But never forget that corn started the same way.
Yes.
And it started in the Fertile Crescent, too.
Yes. So that to me, that isn't something that some primitive guy or woman literally sleeping under the stars. You don't have a hut that you're living in a cave if you're lucky. Other than that, you're just sleeping on the dirt every single night. And suddenly you wake up and you're thinking about hybrid wheat? No, it doesn't happen that way. It just doesn't. And so,
if you read the Hammurabi Stela that came out of Mesopotamia, and there's a whole codex of law that we've modified it for the complexities of our culture and our civilization as we progress, but basically our law system is still the same as what's written on the Hammurabi Stela.
Yes, it is.
It really hasn't changed that much.
Pretty much.
Our whole system of justice, our system of agriculture, we haven't made any huge improvements in modern history with our plants. If we want to say that genetically modified crops are an improvement, the way we're doing it, I think that you're going to get a serious amount of debate and email over that. But
how do you spell Sentinel? Sentinel, Sentin. Is it EL? AL.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I'm going AL.
Spell checker is your friend.
Yeah. Yeah, live in radio. But I don't find that to be, degrading. If that's just the way that it happened, okay, we have an explanation for it. One of the things that really irritates me is we keep going back to Göbekli Tepe, but I do it for a very, very, very valid point. Göbekli Tepe wasn't supposed to exist. Nothing was supposed to exist before 3500 BC, but nothing but man, clubs, primitive man, Stone Age man. That's it. And the Bronze Age and all of that barely, even if the timing is right there, happened then. Before that, that man was just cavemen. Okay, now go back to Tempe wasn't supposed to exist, but you know what? It did. Now, you're going to back up 7,000 years, and then you're going to tell me that the farming, the organization, the culture, the community, the math, the carving, the artwork, all of that advanced intelligence that wasn't supposed to exist. 7,000 years, not 100 years, not 1,000 years, but 7,000 years before the pyramids, and it wasn't supposed to exist. That intelligence came from somewhere. Now, if we're going to go back to 10,000 BC, 12,000 BC, at the very edge of the Ice Age, what civilization is running around with intelligence back then? Help me out here and explain it to me. If not, then just shut up, because it did exist.
There's two possibilities. And, I mean, obviously, there was a pre-Ice Age civilization. I mean, obviously there was. You can look at the Great Sphinx, the funerary buildings around the Great Pyramid and the Great Sphinx, and their weathering patterns, and they tell you that they were seriously eroded by water in a rainfall that could have only happened historically at the end of the Ice Age.
Yeah, 11,000 years. Yeah.
And so prior to that, we had a civilization that was capable of building the pyramids and the Great Sphinx and the funerary structures. And we know that that's true. Now, did we exist as a higher civilization prior to that? And even if we did, who's to say that we didn't get help prior to that, prior to the Ice Age?
Yeah, you know what? You know how much I love Fate or Nots? Klaatu just tweeted the Sentinel, 1951. 1951.
Hey, you nailed the decade.
Yeah. I knew it was. I was thinking 55, but 1951. Tell me Arthur C. Clarke, man, didn't have something going on. That guy was connected. He was connected to something that you and I, Mark, know nothing about. I'm serious. That guy was connected.
He could have been contacted. He could have been contacted, just like Adamski or, anybody back then.
Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke.
Those people, all those people who were contacted in the early years said specifically, I'm really not supposed to just push this. I'm supposed to ease it out on everyone.
Hey, did you ever read the Rama series, R-A-M-A, the Rama series?
I did. That's been a long time ago. I can't even remember who wrote it, but
Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
at one point I had read, several thousand science fiction books all in a row. I went on a real binge for about probably 10 years.
Well, the Rama series, when you should go back and revisit that. Rama, the Garden of Rama, Rama 2, Rama Revisited. I could have those names wrong. I've read them all a few times, and I have them here. It's one of the very few books, like 2001, I've probably read 20 times, right? And Rama, which are long books, each one. But I went back and I read those again and again and again. And that description of intelligence reaching Earth and how they did it and what was actually there was from a vision that was unlike anything else in science fiction. It totally comes from another mindset. And I invite anybody to read the Rama series by Arthur C. Clarke. It'll change your life. It really will. As far as your perception of how and when we find out about intelligent life out there, and you check out the Rama, that Arthur C. Clarke knows something. That's all I'm saying. He knew something before he died. There was something connected to him. I don't know what, when, where, why, but that guy had vision like nobody else. And Asimov is great. He's great. Yep. And there's a lot of great writers out there that I admire, but Arthur C. Clarke was singular.
Yep, he was.
All right.
We had another caller that called in, and I'll make this real quick.
Yeah, we got about 20 seconds.
He asked about why we would cover up things that we've learned. And real quick, just to consolidate power for the powers that be all across time and history.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's why you're smarter than I am. Thank you, Mark.
All right, love you, Jimmy.
Love you back, Mark. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Wow, let's close out another night here on Fade to Black. That was great. Giorgio Tsoukalos, that's enough said there. Absolutely incredible. Great time tonight. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Giorgio. Thank you to all of you callers. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Fatova, Mark D. Kovar. Fadey by Dale. Webmaster is Method of Signaling. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Go get you some. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, syndicated on KGRA, The Planet. Year number 3. Happy birthday, Race, and everybody over at KGRA. Tomorrow night, Joel Garbin. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want everybody to be safe. See ya.